Hi everyone, Lisa here, aka Maggie Milo, and I'm here to share with you the SNL Glassine Bag Challenge. So the SNL stands for Sandra and Lisa. For this challenge, it was to use obviously glassine bags on a layout somehow. And I have a prep video a couple of videos back now. So if you want to see any of the detailed products that I am using, just go back to that video and check it out. And there is also a sketch for this layout as well, and it is in the prep video as well. So if you want to go back and check out the prep video, by all means, go ahead and do that, and then you can come back and watch this video and see what I am up to. So I am embossing these glassine bags, and I'm using Tim Holtz. It's kind of like a sunray embossing folder, and I also have a wood grain one out, which I use, but I don't end up using the glassine bag from it. So all I did was take that little glassine bag, and I wanted the sun rays to be on a very specific spot on that glassine bag, so I just used some washi tape to kind of hold it in place. And then you see here I embossed that other bigger bag using the wood grain embossing folder. And I like how the wood grain one turned out. I don't end up using it, but I really like the looks of it. Now I'm taking some Heidi Swapp Gold Lame, and I'm going to mix it up really well, and then I'm going to pour some on my craft mat, and then I'm going to rub it all over the embossed side of the glassine bag. And what that does is it gives it a nice highlight on the ridges of the glassine bag. So it's really hard to see it on the video, but in person it looks really pretty. If you look at the close-up pictures that are at the end of the video, you'll see a little bit better detail of how that gold and lame color shine, how it really highlights the edges of that embossing folder. And here I'm just taking a paper towel, and I'm just blotting off the excess. And I wanted these to dry relatively quickly, so I just open the bag up with my fingers, and it still does keep that embossed look to it. So I was worried about opening it up and then it would lose that embossing, but I was able to open it up and it still kept it really well. And then I just kind of took my heat tool and was blowing on the inside of the bags, and it seemed to dry them really, really quick. And here I took that wood grain white paper, and I've been hoarding this. I have a few sheets left, and I've been hoarding it because I really like this white wood grain paper. But I cut it down to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4, just so it would have a very, very thin border on that back, so that it would have a very thin border of that back of that Studio Calico. I think it's from, I can't remember what collection, but anyway, it's in the prep video. So it would have a nice little border around that white wood grain paper. And I'm taking those Fifth and Frolic little Polaroid frames, and I am going to use those as a photo mat for my pictures. And my pictures were a little bit bigger than what those Polaroid frames are, but it was just a nice little hint of the color underneath those photos. So I was okay if the picture was too big for the Polaroid. It was still the same idea. And then here you can see me taking that glassine bag, and I'm taking my bone folder, and all I'm doing is just accentuating the crease fold of that glassine bag, just because when I was drying it and I was putting the heat tool to the inside of it and I had opened it up, it kind of lost a little bit of its shape. So I took the bone folder just to kind of accentuate those crease lines again. And then you can see me pulling out some of those scrap pieces of paper that I've had in my stash to use those as my pattern paper for this layout. It didn't make sense for me to pull a whole bunch of 12 by 12 pieces of paper out and cut them up for this particular layout, just because I knew it was going to be a lot of white space on it. So for me, it made more sense if I could just look at my stash and find the scrap papers that coordinated very well together. So that stripe paper and that vellum piece are both from the Dear Lizzie Lucky Charm, and then that grid paper is from Studio Calico. I think it's from the Here and There or Snippets collection. I can't remember. So I'm just laying everything down kind of towards that sketch where I want everything to be. And again, I just made this sketch, and again, if you want to go back to the prep video and look at the sketch, go ahead. If I could figure out a way to do a digital copy, and then I would leave a link to the sketch on my blog, but I am not computer savvy enough to figure that out. I might have to get my daughter to help me out because she's taking graphic design in school. Well, I guess not now, school's out, but she was taking it, so she might be able to help me with that. And there was that lined Dear Lizzie 5th and Frolic paper, and I'm going to make a tag out of that. And I just used my pencil to kind of mark the size of it rather than measuring. I don't really measure that much anymore. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't really measure. I use my pencil as my ruler, more or less. So you saw I had my corner chopper out, and that was actually the stub punch corner chopper. I wanted to give it a little bit of a different element rather than the straight cut tag, so I used the stub punch, and I like that look of it. It just gives it a different look. And then you also saw me cut that vellum, what was left of that vellum piece underneath that photo. I just cut it so it accentuated that chevron, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to tuck that underneath the photo, and you'll see that in a little while. And then that yellow stripe is from the DIY shop, and it was a border strip, a 12 by 12 sheet of border strips. And so I'm going to use that. And then I had this in my prep video as well, and it's this triangle piece that is from the 5th and Frolic, and I just cut out the triangles. Triangles seem to be an ongoing trend, so I cut those triangles out of the yellow to use as an accent, and I really like that look. I think I would take that triangle embellishment and I would run with it on a different type of layout, but I really like how it accentuated this layout as well. I started off being very monochromatic, and it just felt like it needed a little pop of color. So the yellow is a really nice touch, and it also kind of ties in with the gold. Even though the gold is not a yellow color, you could use it in place of yellow just because it is that sort of same hue, if that makes sense. So I'm just cut a corner piece from that same striped paper from the Dear Lizzie Lucky Charm, and I knew it needed something else behind it, but I just left it there for right now. And I'm cutting this glassine bag in half because I debated on using it in place of where that chevron is as a photo mat, but then I decide against it and I go back to that chevron piece. It looks nice, don't get me wrong, but it was just not the right color that I needed up in that corner. So I'm going to save that for another layout. So I'm not sure where it'll come into play, but I really like the looks of it. So again, if you want to see that, make sure you stay tuned at the very end for those photos, because they do the pictures justice. It's a little bit closer to what it is than it is on the video. The videos just don't seem to pick up the colorization very well. And here I cut some strips from the Gold Pal glitter paper, and it just was a nice accent to tie in with that gold. I debated on using this grid underneath that stripe, but I really like the gold a lot better. It brought the gold down to the bottom of the page, which definitely needed something. So here I'm just gonna start gluing everything down, and rather than me gluing the backside and moving everything off in the way that I had it, it was just easier to put glue on the backside of that 12 by 12 sheet. So that's why I did it that way. It seemed a little backwards, but it worked better. So I'm just gonna start gluing some of these pieces down because I really liked how the layout was going. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess of that gold POW glitter paper. And I have so little of it left. I think I'm hoarding the last bit of it because I really like the looks of that gold POW glitter paper. And it's such a nice gold. So here I'm just attaching my photos down to those Polaroid frames. And I'm not sure if this might be an ongoing thing for my nephew and I, but every time we get together, we always sit in front of my iPhone and we make funny faces, which he just cracks me up. I think he's such an awesome little kid. He is 3 now, and he's just so smart and funny, and I love his sense of humor. He's so cool. So hanging out with him just is awesome. That's all I can say. So there you saw me, I had that border stamp from that My Mind's Eye, oh, was it Dilly Dally Miss Caroline stamp set? And it wasn't laying completely straight. So I don't know if it was Christina Warner or Jennifer McGuire who I saw that tip from, but if you lay your ruler out and then you put your stamp along the edge of the ruler, it makes it straight. So that worked out awesome for this. So if you're ever looking for a way to make your stamp straight, that's an awesome tip. I love those girls. They have such amazing cards that they make, and the tips that they have are awesome. I just love them. So you saw me just stamp that border, and that's the only time I used that stamp. Honestly, I thought I was going to use it a lot more, but this page ended up being a very minimalistic page. So I really like that look, and it seems like every time I do a page of my nephew and I do black and white and I do minimalistic pages. I'm not sure why. It just kind of seems like it just happens that way. Whereas the rest of my other layouts that I make for my other nieces and nephews, they always seem to be very layered. So it's almost like I've given each of my nieces and nephews a different feel to the scrapbook pages that I make for it. I just found that very interesting, and I'm not sure if anybody else has come up with that same sort of scenario where they seem to scrapbook a certain way about somebody in their family. I don't know, it just seems to happen that way for my nephew and my nieces. Not necessarily about anybody else, but definitely my nephew for sure. I did another layout for National Scrapbook Day, and it was using black and white photos as well, and it was a lot of white space on it, and I really liked how that layout turned out. So I'm loving how this layout turned out. I definitely want to scrap lift this one off of myself and do this again. I love the look of this. So here I'm taking those triangles that I had cut out of that border strip, and I'm going to lay them down on the layout. I'm just going to fuss with them a little bit. Just because when I had placed them down the first time, I had liked it better, and then when I went to go put them down this particular time, it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted to, so I'm just going to fuss with the placement a little better. So just kind of moving things around. And I really like how I spaced the triangles out more so this time. It just put a different geometric pattern up at the top without it being too overwhelming. And I really like the little pops of the yellow on this page. It was just it was just what the page needed. It needed something, and I really liked that look. And I'm going to fuss with this arrow quite a bit, but this is where I pull it off and decide not to use it at all. And I pull out this white washi tape with these, you know, teal triangles on it. I thought that would tie in really nice, but it just didn't work very well for this page because it really fell into the background and you couldn't really see those triangles, and I wanted it to be a little bit more defined. So I'm going to go for this yellow chevron washi tape, which I think kind of accentuates the chevron that's going on with that vellum. So I like that look better. And it is a nice little pop of yellow, which I find is so funny because I don't scrapbook with yellow very often. It's not my favorite color, but it is a really nice color to go with certain, like especially this aqua in this page. I'm not sure if maybe I got this off of Pinterest for this color combo, but I really like the aqua and the yellow. It really is quite nice. And here I'm going to take those white thickers, and again, this was my first choice for my thickers that I chose for my prep video. And again, if you want to see that, head on back to a couple of videos ago and it'll show all the products that I pulled. And I really like the white on white title. It just gives it a really nice softness to the layout, and because it's white on white, and when it's a very white space orientated layout, it doesn't draw too much attention. It does draw attention to it. I don't know how to explain it. It still makes it feel like it's the background of the paper, so it still makes it feel like it's a white space that's there, if that makes sense. I don't know. That's kind of hard to explain. But anyway, that's why I chose the white ones first. If I could use them, I was going to. And I think the gold would have been a bit too much. I wanted the gold just to be an accent, and I was scared if I used the gold that it would be a bit much. And I'm glad I opted for the white ones instead. So here I'm going to find some potty people, and I'm going to use, I was debating on using this really, really big girl and then the little tiny boy. But I like the kind of more medium-sized girl and then the little boy. I think if I would have used the big one, it would have looked a little awkward. So I like that. And then I'm going to use this October Afternoon label sticker to put the potty people on, just to kind of accent them on that page. So I'm going to stick that down and then stick my potty people just on top. I didn't want to glue them down yet, just in case I wanted to add something underneath that. And I'm going to pull out some of these Freckle Fawn arrows, and I'm going to lay them on the page. And I debated on pointing the one arrow to the journaling, but I'll end up flipping it the other way. But it just seemed like I wanted to point to the journaling, but it looked awkward with the arrow the wrong way. It felt like it needed to be pointing in towards the photos to kind of, you know, bridge the gap between the two. So I'll end up flipping that arrow around. And I pull out the stamp set again just to see if there's anything else I want to use. And again, I didn't use it anymore on this layout. I just stamped it on that one photo frame, and it just seemed to be just enough because it was a kind of more creamier background piece. I wanted to bring that teal back into that photo frame just to accentuate that teal look to it a little bit better. And here I'm just cutting some more of these triangles because I'm going to use those as an embellishment on the page as well. And so here you can kind of see me going to place them underneath that glassine bag, and then I'm going to place another one underneath that title just to kind of accentuate it a bit more. So that way I had the yellow in 3 different spots. So here I'm going to glue those down. So we're going to glue those down, and then we are going to, I think we're going to glue down that glassine bag next. So while I'm fussing around with the placement, I just wanted to mention that there's a couple other ways that you can join in on the challenge. You can either leave a video response over on my video, or you can post it over on Sandra's video. And her video should be up sometime today. And you can either do a process video or just a layout share. If you do not have any way to do video recording, you can post a picture somewhere and leave a link for us. Send us a message to your link, and then we can take a look at it. Or you can post it over on Facebook, and you can tag Sandra and I in the photo, and then we can look at it. So there's a couple ways you can join in, and we would love for you guys to join in. It's a lot of fun. And this is just for fun. There's no 50 projects. There's no pressure. Feel free to do it anytime. There's no time limit. It's just one of those things where it's just to get your creative juices flowing and try something different. So definitely, if you want to do that, feel free to do so. We would love to see what you make. And I'll leave our information below. So if you want to play along, please do so. So here I'm pulling out those Studio Calico stars, and I love these. And I've gone through so many. And I can't believe there's 200. I think there was 256, something like that, stars in that package, which is a crazy amount of stars. And I still have tons left, which is awesome. So I feel like I'm using them more and more lately. Here I have those Tim Holtz, they're I think called Chit Chat stickers. So I found a couple of them that kind of went with the photo, and one said laughter, and I believe the other one said smile. Yeah, it did. But I was going to use this evergreen bough distress ink, but I knew it wasn't the right color, so I didn't want to use it. But I decided I was going to spray that dewy on my craft mat, and I knew that was the right color, so I'm going to use that to ink up those letter stickers, just so that they are the same tone as the other pieces, just to add a little bit more of that tealy color back into the layout. And then I'm going to heat set that with my heat gun. I was just looking to see if there was any other stickers that I wanted to use, but there really wasn't. So here's where I'm going to heat set that, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put those on the layout. So I'm going to put one on each of those photo frames. And I'm pulling out a flare badge because I feel like that glassine bag needs a little bit of an accent on it, just to kind of make it tie in with the layout. So I'm just fussing through with some of the ones that I like. And there was this one that had this camera on it, and I really wanted to use that, but it was just not the right color of teal, so I don't end up using that. I chose this one that says Loving Life, and I think that is from a Flair for Buttons, I think it was from. It's actually quite old. I've had it in my stash for, quite a while now. So it seems like that's the case with all of my layouts, is it's a lot of old stash, and that's because I was on that 50 projects Facebook group, so I really haven't bought anything for quite some time. I think the last time I bought anything was at the end of April. I just purchased a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm pretty sure you guys will be seeing quite a few more haul videos from me for probably the month of July. And then I think for the month of August, I think I might join back to that 50 projects group. I'm not 100% sure on it yet, so I'll have to see how it goes. I think just because my kids go back to school in September, and September is a very expensive month for me. I have to register both of my kids for school, and by the time you add up all their extracurricular activities, I think it's more expensive in September than it is actually for me at Christmas time. And then by the time you buy all the school supplies and everything else, I would honestly not doubt, without a doubt in my mind, that September isn't the most expensive month of the year for me. So I think that's why I might join the 50 projects back in April. Or sorry, April. Yeah, April. I want to join the 50 projects group next year, April. No, it'll be for August, I'm thinking. So, and here I'm taking some, I started off by using some VersaFine ink to ink up that little stamp, and it says laugh more, and then I stamped the date, and I was going to use some gold embossing powder on it, but it you kind of saw in the video clip there, it just kind of clumped all over the place, and it didn't have a really nice look to it. So I just brushed off the gold embossing powder, and so I dug out my gold pigment ink, and it's by Colorbox, and I stamped it up instead, and it looks quite a bit better. And the Versamark ink behind it kind of left a little bit of a shadow, so it actually looks really kind of cool. So, and then there you see me journal on that tag, which I usually always fast forward. And see, here's where they flip that arrow around. And I'm going to glue down those little stars now. Oh, sorry, the arrows. I'm going to glue down the arrows first. Sorry. And now I'm going to start gluing down these stars. And I'm just scattering them on each of those longer pieces, and that's going to make them kind of tie in together. And glue those all down. And I took a picture of the finished page after, but what I actually end up doing is I end up moving the tag and the flare badge over on the glassine bag, so it's right on top rather than it being kind of more towards the side. So it looks like a little awkward right now, but I end up fixing that. And then I went around my page with some gold thread that I got in a haul from Walmart. And I just went around the page, and honestly, it took me probably longer to do that part than it took me to do the whole layout, because my sewing machine and I had a huge fight, and I ended up winning, but it wasn't without some struggles and battles along the way. So it took me a long time. So thank goodness for editing. That's all I can say. So I had these little gold stars in a Studio Calico kit, and I'm not sure if they came in a Project Life kit or if they came in an actual like scrapbooking kit. I've had them in my stash for a while, and I don't even know which kit they came from. I'm not sure if they came from the May or the June kit, but they're little tiny stars, and I was going to try and add them into each of those star embellishments, but it just didn't work out very well. So I wish I would have maybe found them a little sooner, but that's okay. So here I'm just going to glue them down, and I'm going to glue each of those stars kind of on top of each of those labels, and then one over on top of the label on the glassine bag. So here I'm going to come in and show you the close-ups of this layout. And so you can kind of see all of the layering on each of those photos. And I'm going to, it's really fuzzy right now, and what I have to do to get it a little clearer is I have to back out or zoom out, and then if I put the paper down and then come back up, it focuses on the page. So now you can get a better look at them. And I really love this layout. I am so going to scrap lift this again. I just love how it turned out. Now I'm showing you that shine on that glassine bag, how you can see the highlights of that embossing folder. And I just love it. So here are the close-ups. And thanks again for watching. And please feel free to join in. It's so much fun. So can't wait to see what you make, and we'll see you next time. Bye.